A few months ago, my sister gave me a call and she asked me, Josh, I think I have ADHD. And I said, like any loving brother would, don't be an idiot. You don't have ADHD. So let's be really clear about this. I ain't a doctor, bro. I'm not. So if you suspect that you have ADHD, you should go seek a medical professional. But as we'll talk about, that can be quite tricky. The logic says that you probably don't have ADHD. But why does it feel like everyone these days has ADHD? So in this video, we're going to talk about the rise of ADHD, why you probably don't have ADHD, and what is actually going on with our attention spans. So let's do it. Again, I really want to make this clear. I am not a medical professional. This is just my understanding to date. And as I continue to learn about a variety of different things, my understanding may change. I am only presenting what I believe is important and interesting for you guys to know about ADHD and also your own attention spans. This is not a self-diagnosis by any means. And in fact, it's actually the opposite. It's an argument to never diagnose yourself for anything, ever. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get into it. I am unsure if ADHD is a result of some genetic code or a developmental mechanism or a mix of both. I don't know. If I was going to have a completely uneducated guess, then I would probably lean towards genetic code than anything else. But this is exactly what makes ADHD hard to diagnose. There is no objective test to identify it. Pathologists can't just take a blood sample out of your arm, test for a certain chemical, and then determine how severe your ADHD is if you have it at all. That test doesn't exist. Instead, clinicians rely on symptoms from the DSM-5. Children need 6 of the 18 symptoms to qualify, and I'm using the word qualify here intentionally, we'll come back to that. Adults need 5. The issue is the symptoms can be quite vague. Lacking attention to detail, easily distracted, disorganized, aversion to do cognitive tasks, forgetful like losing your wallet, keys and phone, talks a lot, impatient, energetic, fidgets, interrupts others, are 10 of the 18 symptoms listed in the DSM-5. And remember, to be diagnosed with ADHD, children need 6, adults need 5. And by this rubric, even I could qualify for ADHD. But no clinician will ever diagnose me with ADHD because 30 seconds into their conversation with me, they will realize that I don't have it. Because there is a big caveat. Your symptoms must be functionally disabling and you must have them for more than 6 months. And they need to be existing in different contexts. For example, at school or work, at home, at sport, etc. A good clinician can make an assessment using this criteria. We can't. Self-diagnosis in nearly all circumstances are not appropriate because we are not sufficiently trained. We have agendas, existing beliefs about ourselves and judgments we want to be consistent with. We want things to make sense. We want explanations for why we are the way we are. And ADHD offers an explanation. In recent years, ADHD has become more popular. The awareness of the disorder has increased dramatically with celebrities talking about their experiences and, of course, social media in general. Diagnosis rates of ADHD have increased and more people with ADHD are getting diagnosed, which is probably a net positive. And I say probably intentionally again, because I'm not convinced one way or the other, to be honest with you. The reason why I say that is the stories that we tell ourselves are everything. So identifying with a disorder may be useful for some people to get treatment and solving the problem, but for others, it can actually trap them in it. But that doesn't completely explain the increase in numbers. Most experts believe the total number of people with ADHD hovers around 3% of the population. That hasn't changed. Mathematically speaking, the difference must be an uptake in false diagnoses. There are more people who believe they or their child has ADHD, and there are unfortunately a lot of doctors who are happy to diagnose them incorrectly. There would be plenty of reasons why someone would be misdiagnosed with ADHD. It could be an honest mistake, or it could be something more sinister. I just smiled when I said sinister. I might be evil, guys. I might be evil. You don't know. Before writing this video, I didn't really know a whole lot about ADHD. So I wanted to deepen my understanding of the disorder a little bit before I made the video. I stumbled on a pretty good article that I'll link down below, but it had a couple lines in there that I want to share with you because I think it's really important when talking about this. ADHD is enormously profitable for the pharmaceutical industry, an apparently lifelong but non-fatal illness often diagnosed in childhood with no cure, for which people can theoretically be medicated for their whole lives. The article then states, pharmaceutical companies fund a great deal of scientific research into ADHD. So there's definitely a conflict of interest there. I want to give you guys my personal opinion about this stuff because it gives you better insight about what my views are. So I actually don't really like the way modern medicine is handled. I think doctors can be quite trigger happy with their prescriptions with drugs. I think antidepressants are a pretty good example of that. The same with ADHD. I am the type of person to be very reluctant to take any medicine unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't like taking Panadol. I don't like taking any anti-inflammatories. I will only take antibiotics when my immune system, tells me that it can't do it on its own. So my philosophy when it comes to health and medicine is that the less pills I take, the better. And that includes the blue pill and the red pill too. Don't take either of them. Just slide that in there. Also, there are surprisingly some incentives to be diagnosed with ADHD, from medication enhancing cognitive performance to disability privileges. But I'm not really interested in that. What I am interested in is the blur between pathological ADHD and the lifestyle of the modern world. So let's talk about why we can't focus anymore. I don't know what it's like to have ADHD because I don't have it and I haven't had that reference experience. But as explained in the article I mentioned before, it explains ADHD is like having a fire hose of information turned on you. It's like your mind is jumping from idea to idea to idea, but without the ability to really remain on any one of them for extended period of time. That is definitely not my experience. And I'm willing to bet that for most of you watching this who are dissatisfied with your attention spans, that's not the experience for you either. University students struggle to stay focused for more than 65 seconds. Office workers get distracted every 3 minutes. CEOs of Fortune 500 companies get on average 26 minutes of uninterrupted work per day. So you can probably see where I'm getting at here. I believe our decreasing attention spans and inability to focus is not due to the rapid rise of ADHD, but a repercussion of the lifestyle we live. Busy, bright, fast are some words that come to mind for the high stimulus environments we put ourselves in. Short form content is an easy place to look for trends. Every YouTube short has captions and subtitles that capture your attention. And we've even got to the stage now where interviews and talking head videos like these have to be displayed with like a split screen of a video game happening at the same time. One video isn't enough to hold our attention anymore. We need two simultaneously. When we sit down to watch TV, within a few minutes we're scrolling on our phones. Hell, for most of you watching this, getting through a 2-hour, 3-hour movie without getting distracted is a fucking achievement. Your phone chirps at you with notifications several times through the day. Any gap of free time is consumed by your phone. You don't have long sessions of uninterrupted work, focusing on one task at a time. When you feel that cognitive resistance after 3 minutes of working, you retreat from the feeling into a distraction. At work, you try to multitask. You have 48 tabs open. You're replying to emails while you're trying to write a report. You join in on random conversations happening around you. You never do anything in silence anymore. Seriously, you probably listen to music when you brush your teeth. I'm not speaking for myself at all here. Not at all. We have become addicted to stimulation. If having ADHD is like a fire hose of information turned on you, then the environments we put ourselves in is like turning the fire hose on ourselves. Focus is a skill, and if you don't practice focus, it is only logical that your attention span will get worse. It's probably not a spontaneous rise in ADHD, but are well designed for comfort and overstimulation. So let's talk about how to find more focus in a distracting world. I consider myself to have a pretty good attention span. I spend uninterrupted hours every single morning writing the ideas for the newsletters and these videos. Most mornings I write in silence, and sometimes I turn on some lo-fi music just playing subtly in the background. I fill this cup up with some cold water, and then I sit through the mental discomfort each morning until I find myself in a rhythm, and then I submerge into the flow state. These couple of hours each morning have become my favorite of the day because that's when my dopamine is highest. It's when I am most focused and I'm more likely to get into that flow state, which, as I have learned, is the optimal experience. If you have been reading the letters or watching the videos, then you know exactly what I'm getting at here. Intrinsic motivators. If you keep doing something and you find yourself consistently getting distracted, evaluate your intrinsic motivators. Poor focus is a symptom, not the cause. For example, my sister, who thinks she has ADHD, has no problem seeking hours at a time into a good book. It's because her intrinsic motivators to read that book is very high. So the difference between a focused mind and a distracted mind is intention. I learned this framework for focus in Dan Koh's book, The Art of Focus, and I want to share it with you. So Dan categorizes focus into 4 main groups: unconscious and narrow, unconscious and wide, conscious and narrow, and conscious and wide. The issue is, due to the design of modern society, our default focus is unconscious. You are not choosing where to put your attention, but instead your focus is stolen. Johann Hari's book, Stolen Focus, is a really good read if you want to learn how society steals your focus. We touched on it a little bit in this video. I have explained it a bit more in detail in the past, but we're not going to go into detail right now. Your focus narrows when your attention zooms in on the goal. By goal, I mean the thing that your mind is craving, the next YouTube short, the cookie in the pantry, and all the other countless distractions you use to sedate yourself. A narrow and unconscious focus results in feelings of stress, guilt, and anxiety. You feel terrible because your subconscious knows you can be doing better is a line I absolutely love from Dan. You can think of an unconscious and wide focus as a state of great uncertainty. Your mind is scattered, clarity does not exist, feelings of overwhelm consume you. You feel lost and unsure what to do. Conscious focus is very different. You are in control, clarity is achieved. You know where you are, where you're going, and what you're doing. This is the state that we want to be in as much as possible. Wide and conscious focus is stillness, relaxation, and creativity. It's the sense of peace you feel when you're sitting on the beach and staring off into the horizon. There's nothing to do and nothing to worry about. We are not going to go into the specific strategies to improve your attention span and your focus because I want to save that for a separate video. It deserves a separate video, to be honest. The main takeaway today is focus is a skill you can improve, and you need to improve it to have a better attention span. And I know that seems really simple and obvious, but I hope this video provided some additional context into why it is simple. Create time for empty hours to think. Sit on the beach, take a long walk, find some peace and quiet, get away from all the stimulation. The thing about distractions is they are only distractions if they are distracting you from something else you want or need to do. That means to be a distraction, there needs to be an intention otherwise. You need to have a goal. You need to have an action plan to achieve that goal. Planning after quiet reflection eliminates unconscious and wide focus. Executing the plan leads to narrow and conscious focus. And when you enjoy what you're doing, narrow and unconscious focus, the distractions, are no longer appealing. Watch this video here if you want some more practical strategies on how to improve your focus. But again, we're going to come back to this in a different video because I'll be able to do a better job of it now. But as always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.